My name's Elena Lennox, as you can see, and I have an organisation called Build Resilience at Work. So we're focusing on your business today and business resilience. So just to checking that you know that you can send a chat. We might not be able to answer right now. I'm assuming you're okay to chat, and I will use chat, and I will ask Agatha, who's our organiser today, to unmute you so that we can actually physically speak to each other, because I really think that having some feedback from you helps me to deliver what we need to talk about. So, and also there may be an opportunity to exchange messages, because we're also going to talk about accountability. There are so many webinars right now where you go and you sit and you're mute and you say nothing, and you go away and yeah, I might do something. But if you hook up with a buddy, I think that there is much more opportunity to chat about your aims, your ambitions, your ideas, moving on from here. And I would love to think that there was a moving on. There is the now, and then there's what am I going to do? And I'm very much action focused, and resilient people are really solutions focused and looking at what am I going to do and take away from this. So becoming a business owner for me, after being part of a large organization, was a shock. It was a real shock. I had to do all the financials, I had to do the admin, I had to do the website, I had to do all these things. And how do you fit it all in? And how do you cope when you're under pressure? Mostly we can go along quite nicely and everything's focused and everything's working. And then you get something thrown into the mix. And it's really quite scary when you come to something like COVID, when there is no certainty. There is no certainty of the future. There is no certainty that things are going to go back to normal. And this is the new normal. I love change. I love new things. And so maybe I'm different. But there are some myths about resilience. Resilience is more than just what you're born with. And frankly, you can be born with resilience. So we're going to talk about how to support you to become more resilient. So I'm just going to share my screen and do the little thing where you look at the slides, but I do like to see a person as often as possible. So we'll see what we see. So we're not at the beginning. I'll just go back to the beginning. I don't know how to go back to the beginning. Nope. Stop share perhaps. How do I go back to the beginning? Stop share. Excuse me, I thought I was going to be at the beginning.
Yeah, if you click on the slide, the first slide first, and then share that screen as a presentation.
Okay, I'm just back to the beginning now, and I'll go back and get started again. So let's share again, and let's try again, and play. Okay, so the first question is, you're going to learn what is resilience. People talk about it, and some people hate the word, but I really can't think of another word. If you can think of another word, that would be great. So we will learn today what is resilience and what are the aspects of resilience that we're going to look at. I use two programs. The first one is called Working with Resilience, which was designed by an organizational psychologist called Catherine McEwen, who is a world leader in studies in resilience. She has used her program to work with many people who are doing research projects, PhD students, to see how this program can support workplaces to change. She's even got something that's a research project on bullying, and how does it help to prevent bullying if we understand resilience. So there is a program for individuals, for team leaders, and for teams. So what we're going to look at today is based on the structure of that program for teams, because you may be a sole trader, you may be an organization with a few employees, but whatever you are a leader in your field. If you're a sole trader, you're still a leader. You're leading the way for your business. So we'll discuss what is resilience, and then what will I get from this workshop? I mentioned earlier that I really have a big push for people to take action. So if you have a pen and a paper available, or you're able to type at the same time on a screen. If you press the escape, you should get out of the main screen. So really thinking, what am I going to get out of this workshop? I am going to be able to understand resilience. I'll pick something about resilience that I'm going to work on in the future. So that's my goal, and I hope that it can be your goal. So you will get from this workshop the feeling that you can find an aspect of yourself, something that you can improve to improve your performance. So what does a resilient business look like, feel like, act like? I'd love to get your ideas and be able to hear what you've got to say about what does a resilient business look like, feel like, and act like? And is it different for a sole trader? So I had planned, and I was thinking we would do breakout rooms. That's not going to be the case because this is a webinar. So perhaps you could come in, and Agatha, and unmute some of our visitors to say, what does a resilient business to you look like?
Yeah, what I'll do, if some of you would like to share and then raise your hands, I will then allow you to talk. So instead of letting everyone to talk, feel free to, there you go. Colin is the first one. Go ahead.
Here we go. Can you hear me now, Elena?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Just on that question, how does it look or does it feel? I think change is the absolute. You've got to embrace the change. Flexibility within the organisation, and we've been very lucky with our staff. We've got a really good bunch of staff, and they're all very flexible. A few resistant initially to change, don't know what's coming, but everyone's embraced it fully now. Everyone's working from home, coming up with different ideas, developing different ways to help other businesses. So I think in our case, is change is a big one. So I'll agree exactly with what you started when you first started on that.
Yeah, anybody else want to contribute?
I think at the moment people are still a bit shy. They need a bit of
Okay.
warming up. So, you know.
Okay, no worries. So as well as using the Working with Resilience Toolbox, which is an online survey that you can access, I also use Action Plus, and that's really to do with emotional intelligence. Sometimes you will meet somebody in a business who really isn't aware, doesn't have a lot of empathy, and unfortunately sometimes it's the boss. So it's that situation where the person is chosen for their drive, their ambition, their ability to move ahead, and they're not really people, they're not really into people. So emotional intelligence means that you become more self-aware. And if you are aware of what is it that triggers you, what is it that really presses your buttons, then you can be more curious. And that's a word I'll use more than once today. To be curious is a fantastic attribute of a business leader. Because if you're curious, you go, that's interesting. I said that because that person really annoyed me. Why did they annoy me? And sometimes our emotions are very interesting. So to be self-aware means that you can self-regulate, and that helps you to drive forward instead of getting stuck. So we're thinking a little bit about emotional intelligence today as well. So we won't go into this. So what do you do yourself? What are the kind of things that you do that help your resilience? And what are your biggest challenges? So just reflect for a minute and think about what helps your resilience. And maybe we'll get somebody to come in on this one. Just like to open up with a few suggestions. And your biggest challenges, one or the other. If you put your hand up, Agatha will know that you want to say something.
You know what, Elena, I'm gonna answer this on kind of, I guess, what's happening to me. Um, you know, for some of us, the workload through work usually one of the biggest challenges, and uh, for me, keeping on top of things is actually breaking it down into smaller tasks. And that's why I love some of those project management tools, being able to, I guess, splitting it into little tasks, which makes it more achievable. Because looking at a big picture is always, oh God, such a huge task. And I don't know about everyone else, but I'm a bit of procrastinator, thinking, oh, I'll do it when I have time. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it over the weekend. I'll do it whenever. But if I break it down into little tasks, then you know, into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever, how many different tasks, then I can actually, you know, do it, you know, really step by step, and then complete the big task in a timely manner. And you know, it actually definitely help out.
Sorry, Agatha, somebody would like to write in the chat. It's been suggested. I just got rid of my picture for a moment. I'll put it back on. No, I won't put it back on.
Yeah, thanks, Barbara. Yes, 100%. If anyone would like to comment on the chat or in the Q&A, feel free to do that. Thanks, Barbara. I really appreciate it.
Yes, we might get back to that. No, not letting me go back. Okay, thank you very much. Now, just let me put my video back on again. I had to nip out and find my clock. I beg your pardon. So, resilient business owners are proactive. And I think that both Colin and Agatha have mentioned this. The actions that you take are so important right now. And sometimes we can feel, as I said before, a little bit stuck. And so being proactive and really thinking about what you can do, and that's why you're all on this webinar today, because you're proactive. So you already have that resilience. There is, however, a feeling sometimes that we can't learn to be resilient, that it's something that you're born with. I can't do this. I can't sing. I can't do numbers. I'm not a finance person. I can't sit in front of a screen. And that was one of my stories. I hadn't realized I'd promised to do a webinar maybe 3 or 4 months ago. I'd actually got people wanting to attend and I just couldn't get it done. I couldn't get started. And why was that? Do you know what? It was because I didn't like to look at myself in the screen. Some time ago, I'd done one of those selfie things where you do a little video for, and it was for my new daughter-in-law's hen's night. And I looked at myself in the screen and went, oh my God, that's not me. Who is that person? So sometimes being proactive is really, really all about understanding what your triggers are and what's happening to you. So that was my stuck moment. The curious, that's something that we've mentioned, that you're going, wow, that's very interesting. Somebody does it this way, maybe I can do that. Agile is being able to change. Agile means that you are thinking about the flexible options and thinking outside the box. Using your intuition sometimes as well, I would say, is an agile response. And self-aware. What does self-awareness mean? It means noticing your moods. It means noticing the reaction of those around you. When you get very irritated with somebody, stop and go, that's interesting. Because I heard a phrase a long time ago that said, when you are feeling very irritated with someone, it's perhaps a symptom of you feel that they are taking away your power. Now, in years ago when I was a high school teacher, I felt that I knew best. And these students who were in year 12 were going to fail if they didn't do this assessment or that assessment. So I lost sleep. I'd wake up thinking about that, thinking about telling the parents this or the other. And really, you know, if you have an 18-year-old at home, parents don't always have that much power over an 18-year-old. but I was determined that they would pass. And sometimes I had to go, do you know what? It's not my life. So I had to be aware that they were triggering my irritation because I knew I was right and they should do what I said. So you might have this kind of conflict at home, and sometimes you have to let things go because that irritation is a feeling of loss of power. And you can really come to this with an employee, with a family member, because you're right and they're wrong. And yeah, sometimes you just have to give it away. So excuse me one moment, I'm just going to turn aside. The beauty of working from home is that my husband's working next door, so I didn't want to disturb him. So we're going to think about self-awareness quite a bit. We're going to talk about curiosity again. Proactive, absolutely. You're here today, you are proactive. Self-regulated means that once you recognize a habit or something that you do that can be improved, or there's something you do really well that you can leverage and do it more often, you go, wow, that's my strength. That's fantastic. So we'll talk about that later. But Michael Malone, I think that's his name, who was the owner of IINet, the founder of IINet, I had the pleasure of listening to him talk a couple of years ago. And he said that it was very, very important to recognize that we should and we can make mistakes without going, oh, I'm terrible, I'm hopeless, I'm awful. Oh, no, 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 I can't do that again. Making mistakes is part of progress. He said that new ideas are the lifeblood of an organization. And he welcomed the new ideas and he promoted new ideas. So much so that, yes, there were mistakes because they tried things that they wanted to see if it worked. So there was that persistence of keep trying, keep trying. And he said they had a box full of new ideas and they couldn't even use them all. But they really thought that new ideas were the lifeblood. So change is upon us with COVID, and it's time to change perhaps. It may be that your business doesn't work in this kind of environment. I have a friend who's an events manager, so there are no events right now. What is she doing? She is changing to become a Zoom manager. So if somebody isn't too keen on managing Zoom, she will manage it for you. I have another friend who's a musician, and he plays the most amazing didge and meditation and things like that. And he's looking at how he can productize, and he is now selling more didges overseas. Can you believe it? People want to learn. So he teaches online. He teaches people how to play didge, he plays sitar, he does all those wonderful things. So he's, it's that funny word, productizing. And then that's what I plan to do. I plan to put my products online, my teaching products, my training. So we've all got to think of what else can I do? What can I do that doesn't involve me physically standing in front of somebody? So I'd now like to introduce Colin, I think it's Jorgensen, who is creating a vision for success. I think that Colin has had a varied background as a business manager, as a mentor, as a support person, and I think that he has a clear vision for improving performance, and he's going to introduce that topic now. Thanks, Colin.
Thanks, Helen. Yeah, okay. So with our organisation, one of the first things we started with, because when I took over there, we had a few different views. We're a not-for-profit company, but we also very much run the business like a for-profit company, and our goal, of course, is to support small business, to help them thrive and prosper. Now, that's not the exact vision, but that's pretty close to where it is. One of the first things we did, we gave everybody in our organisation the book Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson. Majority of people probably listening have heard it, but it's a fantastic little book just to have a look at. When there is change, and we're in a change environment now, that cheese has moved, or our money's moved, or we keep going back to the old same pot to get that money. Well, that's changing. So we all need to look at different ways, which is, of course, what you were just saying, of how we're going to do new business. We all have to be proactive. So one of the things that we've done in our organisation is we rely on, federal and state funding. So we deliver the ASBAS program, which is part of what we're looking at here. We do business local with the state government. We also do an EFS program, which is also through the federal government. Now, tenders can come and go, and you can be really good at what you do, but maybe you don't get it next year. So we've developed an RTO now. So we've got extra strings, you know, of revenue coming into the business. So that's a professional training and RTO program that we've developed to take, you know, take control of our business rather than leaving it in other people's hands. So that's one of our, if you want to call it, our visions for success to get through. We also just follow on the wellness of our staff. So of course now we have everyone working, pretty much everyone working from home, and we are remote. We've got, you know, 3 different offices plus the people working from home. And for the last year and a half, we've been running daily huddles every morning by Zoom. So all our team are well used to this sort of program. So it hasn't been a massive change in that line to communicate with each other. I think the biggest change that we've had is making sure that everyone is in touch with everybody. So instead of just phone calls, people jumping on Teams and having meetings on Teams, so you're seeing face to face. So our wellness of our staff is vital, and all our people. And I'm pretty sure the majority of people within our own teams are all looking after each other in that way. Does that help a little bit there, Elena, to get you going?
Yes, fabulous, yes. So in terms of improving performance, Colin, how does that work when sometimes we see when we are in front of our boss and we've got our performance management, how often would that be the thing you would do? I mean, some people say they do it more often and it's not as horrible.
Yeah. So we've implemented with Heidi, anyway, Body, we developed, well, they developed for us, sorry, a 360 program that we ran about 3 months ago with everybody. And the idea of that 360 was to get an understanding where the individuals, they sit in, if you want to scope, if they're, you know, what style of person they are and how they react to, you know, either criticism or support, which is the best way to get out activity out of them, or best to promote their own wellness as well and their own growth internally in business. But it also, the idea was to get a program so we could get everybody engaging, not just the managers engaging with the staff, but also how everybody engaged with each other. What we did from that was to suggest that we will do a KPI and performance review every quarter. Not a big stick concept, but really just to make sure everyone's on task, that we're all channeling to the right area, and each team is developing their own programs as well. You know, in all honesty, we didn't end up getting that quarter because that's due now, but we've had a few other things to handle just recently rather than the staff reviews, but they will come in probably in May. From that also, sorry, I'll just go on with that. Agatha has introduced Asana to our business. We were using a bit of Teams, but now we've got Asana, which is a project management tool. And so every morning, everyone share, well, once a week, on a Monday morning, we share what each individual's planning to do for the week, just on a high scale. And then every morning in the huddle, we also go through what we're doing, our daily tasks. So, but really only the top 5, not out of the 20 that you might do. So everyone's can see what everyone else is doing, and hopefully, because you're not sitting in the same office, that will spark someone to go, oh, you're working on that. Okay, great. Well, I can come into your team, or whichever way it goes. So we do that every morning, and obviously from those there's actions and outcomes. It's very action outcome based program, we should say.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So what would be your advice to small business owners who may be sole traders or may have employees? What would be the tips, the takeaways?
As a sole trader, as you know well, you've got 20 different hats you're wearing. You have to do every single job. You need to find a friend, a mentor, a support mechanism. You have to. You can't do it all. You need someone to bounce ideas off. How do you grow if you're a one person? You need someone to sit by your side. So you need to search for that person. And hopefully there's a good friend there or a friend in business or in some form that you can do that. Action planning is vital. Obviously when you're doing it with, you get down with a mentor and you talk about where you're going as a business or as an individual, or where you're going to get some growth from, or where you're going to get revenue from, or how do you bring your expenses down, or all the other ideas to sort of keep the business afloat. So having a mentor who can sit with you and put an action plan together, and then hopefully hold you accountable, because it's very difficult to hold yourself accountable. You need someone to sort of say, how do you go with that? You've got your dates, you've got who they're supporting, but how do you individually make sure you're accountable? So personally, the best way is to find a friend.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with that, Colin. In terms of how would a sole trader, how do you measure? What are the metrics? How would you say, I'm working on my own. How do I measure myself other than if I don't have a mentor?
That's a good question, actually. I guess it depends on the style of business that you have. There's a huge amount of tools out there to actually get an understanding of other benchmarks, if you want to call it. So if you're a small business, I don't know, you might be a coffee shop. So what's the benchmark for a coffee shop? What's a benchmark to should your cost be if you're making your coffee, as an example? So there's plenty of those benchmarks out there, so you can go through that. When should you be doing your BAS? There is benchmarks for everything to go out, and seriously, that's what you need to do. You need to benchmark yourself. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that you become a sheep and follow everybody else either. You've got your own ways, and that's why you're in business, because you think you can do it better than someone else has been doing, or you think there's an opportunity in the marketplace. So follow the trend, but at the same time, you still need your benchmarks, and those benchmarks are generally from other businesses, whether it be, you're running at 19 to 21% expense line, or your wage bill is X or whatever. Well, you won't have a wage bill, but what is your rent against your revenue? Again, there's benchmarks for those.
Excellent. Now, if anybody has questions for Colin, they can put them on chat or Q&A. I'm not sure if that's a different thing. I haven't used a webinar before, but so please write down any questions. That would be great. So yes, I really resonate with the idea of KPIs, because if we don't have a performance indicator, how do we know that we have improved? And we are our own worst enemy. We can sometimes have 5 things happen in the day, and one of them wasn't the best, and we go, oh no, that was terrible. And our mind goes to that spiral of, oh, I didn't do well there, and our emotions take charge. So regulating our emotions is important, and to try to focus on the positives. Yes, we do need to know about the things that didn't work, but if they don't work, then that's fine. It's an experience, and we move on to something that does work. And it could be that it's just our impression that it didn't work. It didn't work yet. So we're going to talk about things like perseverance in a moment. But I don't see any questions just yet. So I think that we will hopefully have some questions for Colin coming up, and we can keep them for him. So you may stay now, Colin, or you may move on to work, and we can keep the questions for you. But thank you so much for joining us. I'm really excited to have you here today.
No, I'll definitely stay on, but I'll probably just I'll mute myself and video myself out and let you continue on.
Excellent. Excellent. But I would really like some questions, because yes, it feels like I'm sitting here by myself. So here's a little video, which is not about just fruit and veg, because it's entitled, How Do You Keep the Psyche Away? And our mental well-being, I've mentioned our moods and our emotions and our really drive us. And when we're feeling down, we have lost our mojo. And right now, I think there's a lot of people who've lost their mojo. So Catherine McEwen is my mentor. She's the organizational psychologist I mentioned, who created that Build Resilience at Work, or the Working with Resilience, with the 7 aspects of resilience we're going to look at. And that is my benchmark to look at. So let's turn the speaker on. Hopefully this works.
This week we were speaking again about the importance.
Just bear with me, it's not This is.
A large part of physical health, of course, is what we eat. Everyone there knew the 5-a-day slogan for fruit and veg. It was a case of knowing what you should do, but just needing the discipline to do it. In contrast, far less is known about what we need to do for our psychological well-being, which is where the 5-a-day program in UK comes in. This promotes the 5 actions that we need to do daily to keep mentally fit. The philosophy is that these actions are so simple that everyone should aim to do them daily, in the same way as we should be eating our 5 portions of fruit and vegetables. So what are the 5 everyday actions we should do? Well, the first one is about social connection, just actually connecting with family, friends, colleagues, or even neighbours. The second one is being active, whether this is taking part in sports, hobbies such as gardening, or just taking a daily stroll. The third one is taking notice. This one's really about being curious and just noticing the beauty of everyday moments, as well as unusual things that might happen. Which leads us to number 4, which is actually just learning something new. And the final 5 a day is to be generous and to give to people around you. So that was connect, be active, take notice, learn and give. These 5 a day actions will help you build your well-being resilience. So how many of the 5 have you done today? And just to keep you totally on track, have you had your 5 portions of fruit and vegetables too?
Okay. So have a think about if you've done those today. Right now, our social interaction is so important. And I have been very blessed to have neighbours that I do know, but I've spoken to friends who don't know their neighbours. Our sense of community has been eroded because we're all inside our house and we like our aircon, or perhaps we go and meet other friends. But I have some elderly neighbours, and one has put a chalkboard out and writes a message there like, let's meet 10 to 6 on Saturday. And we have evolved a little thing where we meet on a Saturday, but don't tell anybody we've been meeting with more than 2 people, and have a glass of wine. And I think we will continue. We have met for Christmas and special things, but not so often. And it gives me, it's really fabulous to see my neighbours out there talking and having a laugh. It's an inspiration to see George, who's 85, out there giving us a song, and I love it. So community is very important, and keeping that community is just so vital. I attended a talk by another psychologist who was actually talking about working towards retirement. And I think what he said was true whether you're retiring or not. But he spoke about this concept of men and women and how we socialize and how we network, and the big difference between men and women when they are planning to retire. So the question was asked, who sees it as a priority when they retire to spend time with their partner, the nearest and dearest? And what do you think the outcome was for men and women? Well, as a priority, men said, 38% of men said, yes, it was a priority to spend time with their partner. And women, 9% of women said it was a priority to spend time with their partner. Pretty shocking. But I think the explanation was that as we are involved in our work, sometimes men in particular don't necessarily form those friendships that mean that they are able to socialize. So if you don't have a big circle of friends, it's time that you made more friends. If you don't have a big network of colleagues, you're on your own, you're a sole trader, it's time to make that network. And making friends and networking takes time. And it's not just a one-off, there has to be a commitment to making friends. So resilient business owners, what categorizes resilient business owners? Just going to look at the chat. Somebody's asking, who moved my cheese? Is it possible to turn up the volume? Everything from my end. Okay, I can put a microphone in. Thank you for letting me know. Let's try the microphone and see if it makes a difference. Bring my microphone over. Now, is it on? Nope, wrong one.
Elena, I think it's actually a problem that is only Cheryl is experiencing. I will help her out. If you just continue with the presentation, I will try to help her on the on my end.
Okay, fine, cool.
Because I can hear you fine. I think everyone else can hear you fine. Thank you.
All right, that's great. All right, so what characterizes resilient business owners? Let's click again. I think resilient business owners will stay well and will live longer. And I think they will smile more and have energy left at the end of the day. So as Colin said, the well-being of his staff is very, very important. And as a well-being coach, I feel very, very blessed to be fit and well, but I work at it. I try to do some activities to keep myself mobile. And I see people younger and younger with bad backs, and sitting around on your soft sofa right now is what lots of people are doing. So yeah, that fitness is so important. And you want to have energy left at the end of the day. So how do you feel today? If I meet somebody and go, how are you going? The chances are that they will say, I'm fine, I'm absolutely fine. But what I'm going to ask you to do is to just close your eyes for a moment and sit up straight if you can and feel into your body. How does your body feel today? How does your body feel today? And you might feel some aches and pains, and you might feel tension. And when we are sitting at our desk all day, and we get up now and again, or we're running around doing things, we don't feel into our body. And often our difficulties come from here. We think it's the stiffness of sitting at the computer. It might be that feeling of tension, but tension is our enemy really, because it can make us feel quite unwell. So feeling into your body, your eyes closed, and some slow breathing. I want you to do a little exercise with me. Feeling quite relaxed. Think of something that irritates you. Think of something that's annoying. Really, really annoying. Something might be worrying you, might be irritating you. And then feel into your body and see how that makes your body feel. Very often you might feel your throat's a bit tight, your chest, or more often than not, it's your solar plexus, or it could be in your stomach. There's a tension. And it's just that awareness and that curiosity to go, wow, my tension is coming from maybe from my jaw, from my neck. The jaw is the temporomandible joint, goes all the way down the back of the spine into those huge muscles and right down to the sacrum. So what I'd like to do now, we're going to do an interrupt that will pause those feelings. And the interrupt is a movement. So I believe in active relaxation. Not everybody can sit and do a few ohms. So active relaxation means that you use movement to interrupt that train of thought. So I'm going to have my hands in front of me and I can see my thumbs. I plan to put my hands up high and bring them down, but still so that I can see in my peripheral vision my hands. And this is bringing in the parasympathetic nervous system to help you to release the tension. So we're going to do this 3 times. So lifting up the hands, I'm looking at my hands, but now they're over my peripheral vision. I'm looking forward, but I can see them in my peripheral vision. So breathing in as we go up, looking at the hands. Hold for a minute. Breathe out. I can see my fingers. One more time. Looking at the fingers. And I can see them. So this is what animals do. When they want to find their prey, they're looking. When they relax, they still have to be alert. But you can bring in that relaxed feeling as we bring in the parasympathetic nervous system. And now, with your eyes closed, last thing to do for now is to think of something really, really nice. Really, really nice. It could be chocolate cake. But my favourite picture is of my niece when she was 1.5, sitting on a chair, eating a yogurt with no clothes on, because the yogurt was all over her. So smiling releases endorphins. Smiling helps to bring in the good energy and disassociate from the things that are making us anxious. So if you can, several times a day, do that little exercise, something to disconnect, and think of something really, really good. We are changing the neural patterns. We are changing that thing of fear. We have a little kernel called the amygdala in our brain that goes straight to the fear factor. And we need it. We need it because it helps us to survive. But the superhighway can get bigger and bigger. So I think that hopefully you're more relaxed and you will understand where I'm going to, that our body and our mind are so connected. We have a nerve called the vagus nerve that goes down from the brain right down into every organ and into the gut. And so actually 70% of the information goes from the gut to the brain and 30% the other way around. So your gut has a big influence. And it might be saying, give me sugar, I'm addicted to sugar. So the body and the mind, we think the mind is something different, the brain is something different, but it is a body part. And they are so integrated that with your thoughts, you can be in that positive space, or you can be feeling the fear or feeling very negative. So changing the mindset is really, really important. And the spirit, sometimes we lose our mojo and we just want to watch TV and eat chocolate. And that's okay. It's okay to wind down by doing that. But it's good to know that that's short-lived and that we can raise our spirits by just thinking of something really, really good. That's why a funny movie that makes you laugh is fantastic. So thinking of a funny movie is awesome. And we really want to do our best and be the best we can. So if you want to swap details with somebody here, or you want to find another partner who's interested in resilience, then it's good to know that you can have somebody who can be that mirror, who can look at you and go, yeah, I can be honest here, and being honest is so hard. If you're Polish or German, maybe it's easier to be honest, but we have got these filters in place that prevent us from being honest and prevent us from accepting feedback. So today, Superman's going, or the man with the energy, I don't know what's going to happen today, and I don't know where I'm going tomorrow because the world is changing. But we can leverage our strengths. We can really build our resilience so that work is going to move forward, so that your business is on the go button and not stuck. And so if you're in a business that hasn't got work right now, is there something else that you can do? Is there a way to be there tomorrow and the next day, so that you are going to be one of those people that's going to come out of it with fresh ideas, new relationships, building new strengths. So the past is where we've come from. That's how it is. In that past are your kernels of strength and some things that might not serve you. But you can draw upon your past experiences to know what's been successful in the past for you, what's helped you to be resilient in the past. Have a think about that and write something down. What is it right now that really works for you to be resilient? And is there something you've heard so far from Colin or myself that can really help you to build capacity? And that means really to grow you and your business. Your business can expand now, building relationships. We've talked about performance indicators. How do you know when you're doing well? Or are you one of those people that's the glass half empty? If you're the glass half empty, you won't see the improvement. So you need to measure. Being able to measure something means that you can manage it. And managing that means building resilience. And building resilience will help you to go back up the ladder, improve performance, and build capacity. So in the past, there are some things that you can't change, or even in the present. Do you know anybody who gets a bit cross with traffic lights? Wow, that's a bit hard, isn't it? Can they do anything about it? No. There are some things that you can't change. And time spent looking at the past or the present things that you can't change are just a waste. So be aware. Be aware of how you spend your time in your brain, going round and round, perhaps in a mind loop of things that you can't change, and let them go. You have to be able to let them go and cut the ties. Using your intuition is to trust and have a positive view of the future and trust that you're moving forward, because I believe that you manifest, that what you see and what you say is what you get. And that has worked for me, but it's taken time to trust and be in that space of moving forward. The intuition that brought Agatha to come and see me when I was running a workshop, and this connection that brought me here today. So thinking outside the box is a great thing, and that may be that you risk failure, but it's really worth thinking outside the box. So we've mentioned agile. That means that you can move quickly, you're not slow. You see something and you go, I can do that. I'm aware of the things that may or may not work for me. I'm aware that my mind's being distracted, that I'm going down rabbit holes, and I spend a fair bit of time going down rabbit holes. Oh, maybe it's time to do my emails again. Oh, maybe I should go and have another cup of tea. And it's that awareness of, no, I am going to monitor my day and see how I spend my time. I'm going to measure how long I spend that is actually productive. And not surprisingly, statistics show that productivity can be 3 hours in the day, real productivity. So how do you measure your productivity? How do you measure activities? Now, I spend a fair bit of time networking, and you might say, well, that's not productive, but those are the people that may bring work to me. And so I want to find ways that I can help them. It's not like, what can you do for me? Gimme, gimme, gimme. It's really right now thinking of how I can be positive and perhaps give them introductions to somebody else in a business who might be really helpful for them. And in return, I don't expect something, but it could be that that person that I've been supportive of will go, okay, and it could be a year down the track. I would like to recommend Elena for this work because I know her and I trust her. And so I think that she can speak very well and understands resilience, understands mental health and well-being. And that's purely because I wanted to support another person. So I would like to ask you to undertake a challenge. If you want to change something, if it could be that you want to monitor and improve your performance, in 21 days, you can change the neural patterns. So changing the patterns is not so easy, but believe me, one funny thing that I did was 18 months ago, I accepted a challenge to do squats. And it was 100 squats a day. And I went, nah, bullshit, I can't do that. But I did a few, and then I did a few more. I thought, oh, I can do this. But what was the most surprising thing was that I would, after a few weeks, go to bed not having done the squats, and I'd go ding, and I had to get out of bed. And it was not a nice picture, because I don't wear clothes in bed, of me doing squats in the bathroom. Because, sorry, too much information, but my neural patterning had attached and latched onto the fact that I had decided and I needed to do those squats. And so now I'm still doing them, and they are so beneficial to me because, you know, we need to create the cells, the new cells in our body that work towards creating stem cells, and they're in your hips. The big bones in the body produce our cells that support our growth. So it could be squats, it could be something else, but a 21-day challenge. What are you going to change? Is it a habit? Is it a process? Is it something that you want to change? And it could be more than one thing. It could be learning something new. So learning something new is so vital to engage your brain. But right now it's time to challenge yourself, and I can send you a sheet which gives you information about the 21-day challenge. So just before we've got 10 minutes to look at what you can measure, the different aspects of the Resilience at Work scale. And as I said, you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So you need to be in a team. This is the team scale. It may be you're a sole trader. However, I think, as I said, we're all leaders. And the shared purpose with your team is so important, and the shared goals. So for yourself, are you clear on your purpose? Are you clear on your whys? Why are you doing what you do? If you have got the why, as they say, you will really understand your motivation and your drive. And being proactive, Colin has agreed, is the most important thing. Don't sit there dithering and thinking that might be wrong, and what am I going to do? What's my challenge? Most of us have such a wonderful idea for business, and we have some strengths that we can really harness. My strengths, I think, are that I like to speak, and I love to help people. I love well-being, but I also did some media work before, so that's really helpful to me. It's to have a culture within your organisation or for yourself of continuous improvement. I heard the boss of West Farmers speak and was very excited to hear that he believed in continuous improvement for everybody, and in particular his female staff. He was supported in his growth to become where he is now by his mentor in the business, who recognised his talents, and he looked for talent, and then he supported that talent to get all the training they needed. And so there were more people on the board who were female than in many other organisations. So developing something that helps you to focus, but again, that's your attention. If you are unable to work well in the afternoon or the morning, I worked with somebody who mornings were just not for them. And so they felt bad because they weren't really full bottle in the morning, but there were other tasks they could do. In the afternoon, there's other tasks that I can do that don't require the focus, but my best focus is in the morning. Perseverance in the face of obstacles. Sometimes that revolves around a story of I can't. And we have to be, not just persevere, but we have to be able to have that consistency. So staying optimistic, monitoring your moods, thinking of solutions, possible solutions, and persisting. If something isn't working, you try another way of doing it. However, it may be not the right time. And if you don't have consistency, as with my workshops, if people see that I haven't got any because I'm going, oh, I don't know if they're working, it means that they're going, there is no structure there for me to, for them to say, yeah, that's a solid looking training business. There's lots of stuff there that we can do. I trust that they're doing things already and they've got lots of people there. So it's persisting and having consistency with what you do, and runs on the board. So I want you to look at some of these and think, this is the actual thing that I might do. What can I do here? One of these that I might look at for my 21-day challenge. And I will share the slides, or Agatha may share the slides with you as a PDF. So self-care, we've talked a little bit about that, and stress management, and I'll mention that a bit later if we have time. So a work-life balance is perhaps wrong, because sometimes you have to work more hours than you would like, but you have to do it. But it's recognizing that it's not good for your health if you have no other alternative activities that support well-being, and observing how you're going. We talked about building capacity, and that includes accessing networks and support. As Colin said, if you have support, you can do so much. If you have that feeling of belonging to a group, I'm a sole trader, but I'm in a couple of networking groups, and my networking groups are my go-to people. I always say, who knows this? Who knows that? Can you help me with this? How do I know this? Or to chat to about their well-being, my well-being, to have a G&T gathering on a Thursday, which is what we do sometimes, and talk about stuff with the networking group. And seeking feedback, that's a hard thing if you haven't got somebody who can do that, because we don't often give permission to people to give real feedback. And it was only recently that I actually managed to say to a good friend, you know, Joe, and that's not her name, when you do the live Facebook, all I can see is your teeth. I can't quite see your nose hair because you might not have any, but it's, you know, can you think about who is the person you want to present to the public? Is it that person who's completely in your face? It's a turn off. But I couldn't say that for 6 months. And now she says, well, why didn't you say it earlier? I didn't like to be too honest. So building on what goes well, absolutely, and see how you can be agile and adapt that thing that's going well, and think down the track, is it going to work when we leave this space? Feeling connected and listening, really listening to what people say. Listening is such an underrated skill, and there's many types of listening that you can learn about. So listening to somebody, and what are they really saying? What do they want? When somebody says, yeah, I'm okay, what does that mean? Does it mean they're okay, or does it mean, yeah, I'm not very good really? So listening carefully to what people say and how they say it. And, you know, there's a few people who stir things. So listening carefully and noticing. Have that personal interaction and have relationships. So aligning is an interesting one. Are your core values aligned with the business that you're in? Some people lots of teachers out there, love the job because they love the holidays, but they don't really like kids. Do you like working with the public? Do you like the job that you're in? How do you celebrate success? And how do you share things that happen so that you get that accolade? Again, being part of a networking group is good for my sole trader business. And resolve conflict. If there is a conflict, you have to deal with it. There has to be structures in place to deal with the conflict. And encourage yourself to say, yeah, I can do this, and it might not work, and it didn't work, but it wasn't me. It wasn't about me. Let's not hit on me all the time. That thing didn't work. Those people didn't come. Doesn't mean that it's you that is the problem. Just before we finish, what are the signs and the symptoms and the behaviours that show that you're very stressed? Have a look and see how many of those can come to mind. The signs are the external things you see, the symptoms are the internal things, and the behaviours, obviously, things you do. And there might be more than that. So hopefully you've got none of those, but many of us have quite a few. So if you have more than 3 or some of them, it's time to look at how to alleviate stress. What are you going to put in place? What's your action plan for reducing stress? And that's something that I can certainly help with. I run webinars on stress-proofing your business. So a resilient employee is an individual's, or a resilient person, is the individual's capacity to manage the everyday stress of work and remain healthy, rebound and learn from unexpected setbacks, and prepare for future challenges proactively. As I said at the beginning, there are things that we do all the time and we're doing fine, and then something comes along and we are just blown over by something new. So be ready for that change. Look at your physical health, how you manage, becoming more adaptable and proactive. These are the things that we mentioned. So what's your challenge? Which of these resonates with you? And how are you going to monitor and measure your progress? Are you going to be more curious and more aware? Are you going to say to yourself, it's time that I manage the stress? It's time that I put myself first, and my well-being is very important. Am I going to build capacity and leverage my strengths, but recognize that if I am strong in my organizational ways, maybe sometimes I get too organized and I try and organize everything and I try and control everything. So there's always a continuum. This is really disorganized. This is really, really organized where I can't let go. So recognize your strengths and leverage them, but also recognize things that you take too far. Stay connected, and that socializing is so important. Keep in touch with others. Now, just to finish, taking a coffee with you is a little bit difficult, but if you would like to find out more about building your resilience at work, having that business that is becoming more resilient, give me a call, free to talk with you and have a half an hour chat. Thank you. I'm Elena Lennox, and thank you to Colin Jorgensen, who came in and worked with us and talked about how to improve your performance. Thank you to Agatha for coordinating, and the Business Station. There's lots of good things on the Business Station which you can access for free right now. So thank you to the Business Station.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic, yeah.
Any questions quickly? Or you can write down any questions and we can reply. Caitlin?
I will actually, I'm going to allow everyone to talk now, if anyone would, for the next 5 minutes. You know, just unmute yourself. I'm allowing everyone to talk and ask questions to Elena and before we close up the webinar. I think it's probably one topic that people are a bit shy about. So I think that's very kind of you in offering this free 30 minutes chat, Elena. As I mentioned, this recording will be sent to all the registered attendees. And if you're wanting to talk more to Elena about building resilience at work or personally, do give Elena a call or email, and you know, we're definitely happy to facilitate.
No questions. Has anybody decided on the thing that they are going to undertake, their action plan, their thing that they want to work on? Would anybody like to share that?
How about, coming on here, how about a sense of purpose? You know, like everyone's working from home. So, you know, getting up and having a sense of purpose when you go to work, you know, I think that's a perfect one to work on, just little small steps, a sense of purpose. You know, our team, we shared a thing from this military guy, one of the generals or something, who was an ex, you know, Army Marine or something. You know, the first step you should do is make your bed, because that's your first task for the day. And then once you made that task, everything follows up from a task. It was a terrific little video, actually. If I could remember to find it, I could probably share it with you, and you could put it out to others if you want to. But it's all about just you know, starting with something, and then that gets a rolling stone going, if you want to call it like that. So having a sense of purpose is mine for today.
Yes. And trying not to get on your internet straight up out of bed. I have a little practice of exercise in the morning, so little movements, qigong, yoga, that kind of thing makes me just grounded and feel well. But small steps, absolutely small steps.
All right, well, from my part, thanks for inviting me in to join you and have a bit of a chat.
Thank
so
you.
I appreciate that, and hopefully we'll catch up
staying
again
here
soon.
too. Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Colin.
All right, thank you. I'll leave now.
Any other questions?
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Colin. I think everyone is a bit shy now. Elena will, as discussed, I think, thank you for allowing that free 30 minutes chat for everyone. And I'm hoping everyone will utilize that. Oh, actually, there's one question here from Cass. Or a comment, just
Yes.
being more accountable. Cass, feel free to unmute yourself and ask the question if you like.
I was just putting a thing that's what I would like to try and change, is just being a bit more accountable and try and change that habit of writing consistently in my diary and planning my week. Otherwise, I just tend to float.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I think it's really good too. One guy that I knew who was a business coach said 10 things before 10 o'clock. And if you're a morning person, not to get onto the internet and surf, and not to do your emails first, but to have things in an order. I write down the things I want to do in order, the most important. But there's also the ongoing things like making business calls, which are not my favorite things necessarily. And so sometimes you have to say, right, I am going to do those calls that are a bit scary, but what's the worst that can happen to me? Somebody's going to say, I'm sorry, I'm busy. So it's writing down all those things and then looking at the end of the week, what did I achieve? And doing a little chart or something that shows the continuity, because one day merges into the next day, and having that continuity of where you're going with it over time really works. Yeah, thanks, Cheryl.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, that's great. Elena, thank you so much for such an amazing presentation. As always, it's a pleasure. I love what you do, and I love that you're helping everyone, including small businesses, in being resilient. We're going to end this webinar now, and we will send recording as soon as it's available. Please contact Business Station if you need any more help. Contact Elena if you want to chat for another 30 minutes. And we're in this together.
Perfect. Thank you, Agata.
All right, thank you, and have a great day, guys. Cheers. Bye.